Hey guys, what's up? It's Abby and it's Monday, so I've got another video for you all today. Sorry, I'm like hiccuping and like burping, and that's because I didn't drink anything. I literally just had scarfed down a box of Lucky Charms. Like I just like breathed it in and inhaled it, so now I have the hiccups. Awesome. But today I'm going to be doing like a DIY type video for you all. So one thing that I've been doing during this quarantine is doing a lot of like sewing and crafting and things like that. So I figured why not show you guys some of the crafts, well, one of the sewing craft projects that I've been doing this past month. Oh gosh, the past month. So yeah, the craft that I'm going to be showing you all today is how I make my hair scrunchies. Let's see if I can find the box of completed scrunchies. I really like making hair scrunchies. This is what they look like. I do two different size ones that are like larger like this one, and then the smaller ones. I'm going to show you guys how I do the smaller ones today, but obviously like you can just, if you want them to look more like this one, you can just adjust the amount of fabric that you use. I mean, it's pretty easy to figure out. And then if you want less fabric, if you want them less like fabric-y, less large, you just use less fabric. So I think I'm going to use this this fabric, which has like roses on it, what we're gonna go with today. So what I did off camera was I prepped my fabric. I made sure that my cut line was relatively straight, and then I also pressed the fabric, that way there was no wrinkles in it. I didn't press the whole fabric, but laziness. But yeah, because my fabric has basically just been shoved in a drawer for who knows how long, so wanted to press it, that way it's easier to work with. But what I'm gonna do now, my fabric is 18 inches long, just so you know, it's 18 inches long, and then what I'm gonna do is make it 3 inches wide, which makes a scrunchie an inch and a half, about an inch and a half on each side, like an inch and a half thick. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is just turn my fabric, line this up, 3 inches, mark it. And I use my pencil. You can use like a tailor's chalk or something, but honestly pencils work just as well. And it's going on the inside. We're drawing all these lines on what's considered the wrong side of the fabric. So the right side of the fabric is where you can see your design, and then the wrong side is where you really can't see your design as clearly. And then I'm just going to take my scissors and cut across the line that I just drew. Alright, and then after it's cut, you're left with your fabric. And what I'm going to do is fold it in half and then take my iron and press it. That way you get like a nice clean line. So just fold it in half. You can pin it if like you really want to pin it here. Honestly, I don't, and I feel like they come out perfectly fine not pinning. I kind of prefer to not pin it, to be honest. So I'm just going to fold it in half and then press it with the iron so I get a nice sharp line. Okay. And then after your fabric is pressed and your sewing machine is all set to go, we're just going to sew right across. I line it up the edge of the scrunchie with the edge of the presser foot, in case y'all wanted to know about that. And if it's a little bit crooked, it's okay, just like be mindful. And I would put the side that's like a little bit off on the top, that way you can see and make sure you're like actually sewing across where you need to be. Okay, and then after it's all sewn across, what I'm going to do is clip the strings off. Sorry that you can't see what I'm doing here, but I'm just clipping the little strings off of it at the ends. Alright, and then the next step is probably like the most annoying step ever, but it has to be done. And that is where you're going to take your scrunchie and you're going to flip it. So that way it's right side in. This is pretty annoying and it takes a while, but yeah. Okay, and I'll turn my music off. Okay, and then after it's flipped, it looks like this. It's just like a tube of fabric. But what you're going to do, so then after you have your tube of fabric and everything is flipped, the rest of it's pretty easy. Honestly, the flipping of the fabric is the hardest part because your little fingers have to fit in and it's just difficult. That's just a difficult part. But the rest of it's pretty simple. So what you're gonna need is your elastic. Mine is just from Amazon. I think this was like $10 maybe. I don't know, it wasn't that expensive, and it's a pretty good elastic. It's got a lot of stretch to it. This is the second type of elastic that I've tried. The first type just didn't have quite enough stretch, so this is a lot better. I can try to find the one that I use on Amazon and link it below. I have on my desk here like the dimensions. So it says my elastic is supposed to be 7.5 inches long. So I'm going to take my elastic, measure it out. It doesn't need to be exact. There you go. And then what you're going to do is take your elastic and you're going to take two safety pins. That's what these are called. These are safety pins. And you're going to take two safety pins and put one on each side. And then after your safety pins are in, you're going to feed your safety pins through the through your fabric. And then I like to take it off of both safety pins and move it over to just the one. And now it kind of looks like a scrunchie. You don't have to fix it up too much yet. After we put the safety, after we sew it together, I'll kind of mess with it a little bit to make sure it looks good. Usually when I make these, I'm making a bunch of them at the same time, so I don't like having to unload my machine every time. So I'll just take a random color of thread. I'm going to use this red thread because I'm actually trying, I have some of these really old threads that are on wooden spools, and I want to get them so that way I can make a craft project out of them. So what I'm going to do though is use this red thread because it's easier than having to unload my machine. And I'm going to hand sew the elastic. Now the way that I sew my elastics together is with, I think it's called a whip stitch. It's been a little while since I've taken a sewing class, so pardon my probably incorrect things. I'm pretty sure it's a whip stitch though, and you're just going to go around and sew a box around your elastic. Okay, and then after you whip stitch it, it'll look like this, and the elastic is put together. Let me just clean up my pins that way I don't stab myself with any of them. Knowing me, I will. Okay, and then so this is what your scrunchie looks like. Before I sew it closed, I just like to move the fabric around, that way it's looks good. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. Just making sure that it's even and there's not a really big clump of, it's really bunchy over here but not over there, that sort of situation. So I just like to fix them up a little bit to where I like it. And then what I'm going to do is take my ends of my fabric and I fold them in. Well, I fold one side in. Doesn't really matter which one you choose. And then you want to make sure that the fold is even all the way across. All right, and then you're going to take your other side and you want to line up the edges. So these edges right here, sorry, I was in the wrong situation, but you want to make sure that these edges here line up, and you're just going to feed it into the other side. And again, you want to make sure that it's equally all the way around. You don't have one side that's more in than the other side. All right, So that looks pretty good. So what I'm gonna do is just sew right across, and I like to sew as close to the edge as I possibly can get. And literally that's it. After that you are done, and so is your scrunchie, and this is what it looks like. Boom. Really, really simple. I mean, this doesn't take very long to do. I mean, even me talking through it, this only took me like 30 minutes. So if I wasn't talking through it, I could get this done a lot faster, but yeah. So that is what it looks like. They're really cute. Obviously, you can mess with the lengths and the widths and stuff like that to make them as like skinny as you want, or you can make really small ones. I like this length because it fits on my wrist really well, the elastic width or the elastic length, because it fits on my wrist well. Alright, and so that is it for today's video. I will see you all in my tomorrow's video. So